Mammography is one of the best screening tools to find breast cancer. Breast cancer may not be preventable, but you can survive it through early detection. If you're a mother or grandmother, sister or best friend,
aunt or cousin,
we encourage you to know your risk, make healthy lifestyle choices, and to know what's normal for your body.
Get screened, get your mammogram annually. We
did!
Renward Wells is firing just not enough, according to F&M Chairman Darren Cash. More luxury vehicles seized by customs, a possible smuggling ring under investigation. A noted religious leader says if casinos are legal, why not web shops? And the Bahamas celebrates World Food Day. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. For joining us. Although Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Works Philip Brave Davis has said he is satisfied with the action taken against his former Parliamentary Secretary Renward Wells, F&M Chairman Darren Cash says Wells' firing is not enough. Cash, who has repeatedly bashed the Christie administration's handling of the matter, says Prime Minister Perry Christie must reveal the details surrounding the signing of that multi-million-dollar letter of intent.
There is no question that since he returned to office in 2012, Prime Minister Christie has conducted himself as if he is a power unto himself with no commitment, obligation, or moral requirement to be accountable to the Bahamian people. That is how he has conducted himself. But I have news for the Prime Minister. There is a day of reckoning coming when he will have to give an account to the Bahamian people. And I believe they have long since passed the point where they have concluded that it is time for him and his band of merry men to go.
After months of controversy, Cabinet announced earlier this week Bamboo Town MP Renward Wells is no longer Parliamentary Secretary in the Ministry of Works. His removal came 12 weeks after Prime Minister Perry Christie asked for Wells's resignation for signing a $600 million plus letter of intent with Stellar Waste to Energy without Cabinet approval. When pressed for details on the matter, Deputy Prime Minister Philip Brave Davis told reporters yesterday it's up to Wells to reveal why he signed the document. This after Christie urged Wells to speak the truth last month. Cash said it appears to him the nation's leaders are simply passing the buck, making efforts to avoid taking responsibility. The party chairman pointed to earlier comments by Christie that he would address the matter and said it appears to him there's no sense of urgency from the Prime Minister.
Just look at the facts and see what Prime Minister Christie said almost 2 months ago. He said he has the report in hand and, quote, "You can expect, therefore, that I will probably take a weekend to review, and then you will hear from me. And then you will hear from me." It's been almost 2 months since he made those statements, and the country has not yet heard from the Prime Minister.
Cash said it's the Prime Minister who conducted an investigation into the Wells matter, and thus it's Christie who ought to report to the Bahamian people as to what exactly the facts are. For his part, Wells has remained silent on the matter since details of the LOI emerged in the press, despite urgings from both Christie and Davis to address the matter. Cash said it's fine if the Prime Minister has determined Wells should be fired, but his termination is inadequate as key details surrounding the controversy remain hidden.
It is not enough that Mr. Wells has been sent packing. It's too little too late if the Prime Minister believes that a simple termination will be the end of this.
Customs officials confiscated 3 luxury vehicles they believe were smuggled into the country through a sophisticated operation. This latest seizure comes 1 month after police and customs officials discovered 4 luxury vehicles and more than 1,000 rounds of ammunition in 2 containers entering the Bahamas. The customs controller says while he doesn't believe customs officers are involved, he hasn't ruled anything out. Vonnie Toot reports.
This Mercedes E-Class is one of 3 stolen high-end vehicles confiscated by authorities over the weekend. They say they believe these vehicles were smuggled into the Bahamas as part of a sophisticated operation, and there is no evidence customs duty was paid.
Over the weekend, there was a joint customs and police operation where 3 late model vehicles were seized, namely one Mercedes-Benz, one Chevy Impala, and a Buick Regal. The vehicles are believed to have been smuggled into the Bahamas.
Customs Controller Charles Turner says each vehicle costs more than $30,000. However, officials tell us the Mercedes has a 6-figure price tag. He says the Mercedes-Benz, Chevy Impala, and Buick Regal were all licensed and registered. However, he does not believe their buyers knew they were stolen.
We are not certain that those owners of the vehicles were involved in the smuggling of the vehicles. We believe that they were victim of circumstances.
So even persons who we confiscate vehicles from, they are assisting us with investigations. It's not an investigation where someone can say, let's go right here and we find a Peter. But the police have our eyes on some people, along with customs. And when the timing is right, we don't want to give them too much information, what we're dealing with. But there are some people we are targeting.
A car like this goes for around $120,000. However, we understand the buyer paid around $40,000. Turner says if a deal appears too good to be true, it probably is.
Individuals should check with Customs Department in order to determine if the vehicle was stolen and the proper customs duty without being paid. The police department can also be contacted in order to determine if the vehicle would have been stolen.
Officials pointed out that the license plate number on this Mercedes is just 1 digit off from the license plate number of a Mercedes confiscated last month. The customs chief warned officials could seize additional vehicles, which they believe were stolen in the United States and sold to unsuspecting buyers here in the Bahamas. He says police are working with international law enforcement agencies.
I would say to you that it's a very sophisticated operation. And being so, we have the police involved. Customs and police is working jointly to try to reduce the smuggling of vehicles. Not only vehicles, though, there is the smuggling of high-duty goods, namely bears, tobacco products, and as you're aware, there is the smuggling of firearms and ammunition.
Turner says while he does not believe anyone in his department is involved in this sophisticated operation, nothing has been ruled out.
That evidence, and I would deal with that. If you have any. And I'll go to the police.
Open investigation, not specifically the custom officers, police officers, it could be anyone.
This latest seizure comes 1 month after police and customs officials seized 4 luxury vehicles, which were reported stolen in the U.S. and discovered in 2 containers entering the Bahamas. 1 person has been charged in connection with that discovery. Turner says it is unclear if the 2 cases are connected. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonnie Toot.
Following Chief Medical Officer Dr. DeLon Brennan's comment that it would be nearly impossible to prevent at least 1 case of the Ebola virus entering the Bahamas, noted physician and FNM Deputy Chairman Dr. Dwayne Sands said today he's not confident the Bahamas is adequately prepared to handle the deadly disease. Sands said with the new cases of Ebola being reported in the United States, the Bahamas is way behind the 8 ball in preparation for dealing with any potential exposure to the Bahamas. He said, quote, "I am not convinced we are prepared. Where are the hazmat suits? How many do we have in stock? Has anyone been trained to put on a hazmat suit or to safeguard them, particularly since we now know if it's not done precisely the way the CDC suggests, you can still get the infection." He said much like hurricane preparation, the government needs to educate the public on the Ebola issue. But so far, in his opinion, it hasn't been doing a good enough job. He said Bahamians are feeling as though we have not taken this thing seriously. Dr. Brennan told NB12 health ministry employees are being specially trained and quarantine centers already identified. He said the ministry has the necessary specialized equipment and treatment in place, although it's only enough for 3 days and with the capacity to treat a maximum of 3 people. Well, outspoken religious leader, retired Archbishop Drexel Gomez, says while he is morally opposed to all forms of gambling, it's only logical that if casino gambling is legal, web shop gaming should be as well. Jasmine Brown has more in this report.
Casino gambling breaks the moral code. Web shop gambling breaks the moral code. Now, if you're going to allow one, then I don't see the logical, empirical justification for refusing to allow the other. A man makes the laws that if one is legally possible and legally authorized, the other, if it is simply a basis of logic, the other should be.
That's how the retired archbishop says he sees the matter legally, but morally he has quite a different view.
I am still, although I can understand what I call the sociological argument, I'm still opposed to it on a moral basis. I think that morally gambling is wrong, and that goes gambling for casino as well as web shop. And the legal question is simply a man-made issue.
Gomez says his position on the issue has always been clear. Decades ago, he led protests against the opening of casinos in Barbados when he was stationed there. But like in Barbados, casino gambling was legalized in the Bahamas more than 50 years ago. For that reason, he says, the moral argument was thrown out the window. And since the 1950s, the argument has been based purely on legality. He adds that since then, everyone, including religious leaders, has grown comfortable with casino proceeds.
Gambling is making a significant contribution to our GDP and our whole national economy. And Christian and the whole Bahamian nation seems to be comfortable with that. And the discomfort seems to be in tolerating web shop gambling.
Gomez says that was most evident during campaigns leading up to the 2013 gaming referendum.
The debate so far in the whole business about gambling has been on legality and not on morality. The moral issue for me is very clear, but you don't expect the government to, because the government decided since 1959 that they're going with gambling.
The gaming bill was passed in the House of Assembly last month with 25 yes votes and 7 no votes. The bill will lead to the regulation of the web shop industry. Gomez insists that legalizing web shops as opposed to keeping them outlawed saved the Christie administration the extreme task of having to shut them down, a task he says more than likely may have proven impossible. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.